with minimal or no intervention of government.
We don't have finished products which can attract value and compete favorably with other countries' products.
It would make sense if the government can find a better way of strengthening our youth.
When we talk about free markets, do we actually mean that everything on a market is free? Well, welcome to Afro Liberty Talks, a program by African Justice Media, where we talk about matters of liberty, freedom, but in the context of Africa. This is our third episode, a brand new episode that you would not wish to miss. Now, today's topic is about economic freedom. It's about free markets and economic empowerment of the young people in Uganda, especially to you, the young people who are watching us. Now, to help us unpack this are two important guests and voices of liberty. My name is George Justice Kanyihamba, and I'm the host of this program. Now, the gentleman next to me is Ronald, the director of Liberty Sparks Uganda, a liberty-based think tank, and the gentleman in the extreme end is Gideon Onduli, the co-founder of Mtindo Network, another active youth-based organization which is empowering the young people, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and, of course, economic empowerment. Now, as we mentioned in our introduction, we want to understand what is free markets and how best are these free markets going to help the young people. Now, as I told you, that does it mean that everything on the market is free? Well, we are going to find out from that. Let's start with Ronald. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Justice.
All right, so let's start right away. When we mention free markets, what do we really mean? Because someone there may think that I'm going to go in the market and I buy everything for free of charge.
Okay, thank you very much, Justice. Thank you for this program, and thank you for our listeners and viewers. Once again, my name is Ronald, the director of Liberty Sparks Uganda. If I'm to throw an information onto what free market is and what it is indeed for the young people in Uganda, a free market is a kind of an idea, an ideological thinking of people to involve themselves into business and activities that can generate an income to them. This is a process which must be taken up by individuals, including the buyer and the seller, but with minimal or no intervention of government. For example, one should be free to start up anything that can generate an income and sell it to whoever wants it, and still that particular pricing or whatever should be determined by the forces of demand, but not with any other policy or government or ministerial engagement. I think that can give you a clue of what free market can mean.
Okay, so as when we look at the context of Uganda and Africa as a whole, do you think we have a free market?
Uganda is practicing a free market economy, but personally I don't believe that we have it free indeed, especially for the young people. This is because the strings attached in starting a business in Uganda or starting any innovation in Uganda is still very hard, more especially for young people.
So how can it be hard yet we have a free market?
Yeah, because
is it on papers or?
Yeah, for the case of Uganda, it's more of the papers and more of those who can manage it out. And the context of a free market still in Uganda is not free practiced by those who have to practice it, but rather talked about because indeed they have to talk about it.
Okay, let's switch on to Gideon. He mentioned of a free market where there are no limitations, where there are limited restrictions for you, no or limited restriction for you to start up a business or carry out any business activity. But we are looking at a country such as Uganda, where most of its businesses are in the informal sector. So to try giving it a perspective, what do you think about it in the context of Uganda? Do you think this is possible, where we have an entire part of our economy being informal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Justice, for hosting us to Afro Liberty Talk, and greetings to our viewers. Like you said, Uganda is predominantly doing business in the informal sector, and that's backed with a very great statistic where over 60% of young people or the businesses are in this particular sector. And I think this is not something that can propel us to where we want to go, but it comes in due to a number of, I can say, regulations. Regulations play a part in this. Because we would all want to be formal, but how will I be formal if the process itself is not conducive for me to do that? Take, for example, the border business in Uganda, which is one of the biggest transportation business in the country. When it comes to, of recent, I think around from 2022, Kampala Capital City Authority and the government itself have been on a running battle with these people to try and formalize their operation. But even when they are willing to do that, the procedures that you have to follow is quite hectic, and you have to take on quite a number of steps with an exorbitant fee involved. And yet these people work hand to mouth. So it becomes way too expensive for them to formalize. So I think why we have informal sector is because we are not free, like in terms of regulations.
All right, let's go back to Ronald. Yes. You have worked with many young people in Nansana and areas around the country. How does economic freedom itself, or the lack of it, affect them?
You know, if I go back to how we've been engaging with a number of people in our communities, as we move around with our trainings and our seminars and events we carry out for economic empowerment of our people in the behind of the walls, in the villages and so on, you find that so many people do not have the information they need to operate with businesses. Many of them actually also, because of the so many strings that go around with formalizing the businesses and also starting, and sometimes the capital itself, like money lenders, all put them into a dilemma of what they have to do or what they don't have to do. So this comes back to the government, which has not come up with a direct procedure or information for the people to start what they have to start. For example, one comes and wants to borrow $1 million shillings to start up maybe a Rolex shop, but this person doesn't know how much more like the interest of 1 million shillings. What is the smallest interest and what is the highest interest? Where should I have to locate this business? Which kind of customers I'm looking for? Which quality of a service I have to give to these people? So all this information, people lack it, and this is why they have failed completely to manage up with these economic freedoms and economic empowerment within their communities.
All right, if I'm to get you well, Ronald, are you trying to say that there should be in place interest rates which are fixed in a free market economy?
In a free market economy, it should not be fixed, but people should have an idea from here to here. For example, yes, maybe we start from 5%, and maybe the maximum should be 20%. So you find where you lie or where you fit, other than this exorbitant kind of interest that sometimes we get from money lenders. One gives you $1 million shillings and wants 1.2 the next day, and so on and so forth.
Yes, but you mentioned of freeing everything, all little regulations, but then the money lenders, that's how now they start to charge as they wish. Doesn't that really affect the vulnerable communities, because no regulation?
Yes. Normally, the government do not have to intervene more into a free market. but they can set regulations and policies to guide the other exercise. Yes, so the work of the government in this context is to make sure that things run to the best of it. Yeah, they put up an environment, they put up policies, they put up.
Hi everyone, this show is brought to you by African Justice Media, the media for the African dream and justice in Africa. Not forgetting the partnership of African Students for Liberty, a global network of leaders advancing liberty in all aspects of society. Thank you and enjoy the show.
To guide the process, but not to control the process.
Okay, moving on to Gideon. You've worked with Mtindo Network, and of course, these are young people. Are there any trends that you see among the young people that the free market has opened up opportunities for them in Uganda and of course Africa as a whole?
Yes, I can say.
Are there any examples or stories of such young people?
Yeah, I can say a big yes, because like you said, when we talk about free market and witnessing how innovative young Ugandans are, it is an evidence that at least there is a change. There is a change. Digging back from data still, around 2019, 2020, we had some statistics which was showing that Uganda was ranked to be #1 in terms of entrepreneurship. That's across the globe, from the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. And now this is an interesting thing, because it brings hope that we have young people here who are making over 70% of this population, who are very innovative and they are trying to come up with initiatives. So now, where do they benefit? Like, when there is free market, they will have wider market base for these innovations, and they will try to move their product beyond the confine of a small market and explore market in the region and maybe across the globe. So us having such innovative youth, if we back it with better policies that can support them to propel, like what I call better policies, a policy which can support them to access capital or financial resources easily to reinvest on these innovations, then we can have a better generation of young people who are not a burden but an opportunity for this country.
Okay, so you mentioned of young people being the age group which is the most innovative in Uganda, and having Uganda as one of the youngest populations. But still, the same report of the World Bank actually mentions that most of the businesses do not live to see their first birthday. Do you believe this problem actually comes from the lack of free markets? Is it corruption? Is it regulation? Is it lack of access to markets? What could be the problem in relation to a free market?
Yeah, like you said, it ranges into various factors. One of them being the unfavorable business environment. And when we talk about unfavorable business environment, you know, the main things which come in is taxation. And when you tax an infant business, which is not yet at a position to even sustain itself, you are paving way for it to die the natural death. Then secondly is access to capital. Like we say, these people are entrepreneurial. But again, we said earlier that they are operating in the informal sector. There is no financial institution which can trust an informal business which is not legalized. And now this makes it difficult for them to access the necessary financial resources that they might need to boost this business. That's now the second reason that contributes to its failure. And now the third one, maybe we can talk about the market itself. The market, they are confined in small spaces. They don't have the opportunity to expand because of maybe the regulations and other factors. So all this takes us back to why they don't celebrate a birthday.
Okay, so you mentioned an important point that when these businesses are starting, they are taxed. So you're trying to suggest any kind of policy that these startups, businesses should not actually be taxed because they are just starting?
Yes, yeah, surely. Because taxation kills. Like, it kills the business.
All right.
You can't take away from something which does not have. First of all, it is just at its infant stage. Let it have time to reach the level.
Up to like how long should it take for them to be taxable?
To be taxable, I think I can say maybe the 50th birthday, because I believe they would be in position to meet that. But generally, overtaxation is not good. Overtaxation is not good, no matter how big the business is.
So don't you think that could be the reason as to why many businesses do not want to formalize and they are hiding, and that alone limits them to access financing if you are informal? Because you are informal because you fear the taxes. You are not in the system.
Yeah, I can say it is one of the key reasons why. Because, for instance, now, just imagine you formalize a business today. Even owning a bank account, you will need to have a tax identification number. Without a tax identification number, you can't even own a business account. So you can see, they want to tax you even before you have nothing in the account. You don't even have an account, but they want to tax you. So you can see.
All right, let's move.
And just to add on a bit, it is always very important for a country like Uganda to see that there is economic empowerment. The only way the government can support these other business which can't see their first birthday is to try to lift them up and raise them stable, so they can find where to tax. Yeah. The funny part of it in Uganda is that you start something with maybe 100,000 shillings, and in the first month, the government needs about 40% of what you started with. So this business will not thrive because, first of all, the government doesn't know how you operate, where you operate from, and the capital you started with, but they want their portion. So by the time you give for the first time, the second time, you are giving them the capital, and then the third time you collapse. Yeah. But when you check in some other countries, maybe like Kenya, for example, you find that the government has a way or a program where you can be facilitated with financial resources, and you bring up your business and stabilize it. When you stabilize it and it stands firm, then now the government can start taxing, because it is taxing where it also partly invested. Yeah, but in Uganda it doesn't happen the same way, and this is why it's fading up.
All right, in the same perspective, in the same context, speaking about widening the market, the problem of taxation, we've seen in the past years, the African Union has embarked on a program which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. How do you think this is going to address all these challenges in terms of the free market in Africa?
Now, it makes sense. The Africa Free Continent Trade Area makes sense because now it is widening the market. If you had your own products and you are lacking a sufficient market in Uganda, for example, you now have a chance to sell in Kenya, to sell in Tanzania, to sell in Nigeria, and so on. But then, because of the problems within the country itself, or within the bureaucracy between how to get to Kenya from your garden, for example, you have produce from your garden to Kenya, the bureaucracy within, or the procedures within the way is now the problem that will affect the other big goal. So the government has to be certain of what exactly it wants to improve and how to improve it. Yeah, it is not just easy for you to get your mangoes and go sell them to Kenya. In the middle here, there is the government, there is a middleman, there is quality assurance from Kenya, for example. Recently, they were rejecting our eggs, that they are not fit for their market. Yeah, so such a things have to be monitored and monitored by the government. Yeah, within the policy or within the regulations. Yes.
Okay, so Gideon, he mentions of the opportunities that one of the programs of the free market presents, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. What do you think the young person who is watching there should know about this, and how can they benefit from such an initiative of free markets thereafter?
Thank you so much. Like we say, the African Continental Free Trade Area is a great opportunity, and for young people I think it is the right time, if this is embraced well, to put our head together get back to the drawing board and try to ensure that we add value, like in our products, because there's an aspect of competition there, which is one of the key things in free market.
Yes.
Yeah, it is not there to hinder us from doing businesses, but to allow us to compete favorably.
Yes.
But we can't compete favorably if we are putting low quality product out there in the market. So now this is the right time for us to rethink our product, focus on value addition, and ensure that it can compete and benefit from this wider market. And also, it should be a call to action to the government, like who are now, I have seen over I think 40 countries. That's quite a big number. But in terms of making it work, I think they don't have the moral interest to do that.
Yeah.
Because we can't say we are having open borders or open market to enable us to move around when we still have armed people at the border trying to check what we are moving with and how we are crossing, what we are taking there and what we are bringing from there. So that's an interest. So as we work together to ensure that we have valuable product to send out there, let's also put in place
Security.
I might not say security, but we call those who have power now to ensure that this agreement works by opening the border totally, such that people can move and trade anywhere they want.
Okay, so what do you think is holding Ugandans from, benefiting from this opportunity of free markets? What is holding them back?
Yeah, so like I said, still one of them is the borders are still controlled. The borders are still controlled, and secondly, we still trade more of raw materials for now. We don't have finished products which can attract value and compete favorably with other countries' products. So we need to work on that and ensure that what we put out there can compete in the market and attract the necessary resources that we might need.
All right, so to the both of you, now this is an opportunity for you to speak to the head of state. In case now you have the presidents here, which policies, which free market policies would you advocate for? What would you tell him to work on them in the economy of Uganda?
Now, for me, as Ronald, I know that when investors come in our country, they are most of the time, or many of them are given tax holiday, which ranges sometimes from 5 years to 10 years, or even more, depending to what you produce. And also many of them get free land. Yeah, many of them, they get free land, either on lease or something, and they start whatever they want to start. Sometimes the government also takes responsibility of giving them security and sometimes housing, because they say that they have come here to start up something, invest in the country, and also employ our people, who are the youth in this case. So for me, I would want that policy to come down to Ugandans as well. Yeah, it would make sense if the government can find a better way of strengthening our youth, because Uganda is almost 80% youth. Yeah, it is a young population. If the government can invest in this young population, there is a lot of potential and a lot of benefit the government and the country can get at the end of the day. For example, when you check with Mackay University, the invention of Kira Motors came from Mackay University. When you check in Chambago University, there are so many engineers, but these engineers cannot even start up a construction company just to repair our roads. If the government can come up with these kind of policies to fund them, to support them financially, to strengthen them and bring their ideas out, yeah, then this can strengthen our economy and this can bring poverty out of Uganda completely. Because what we lack now is how to start. If you have an idea, do you have any office or any ministry you can go to present your idea and then they help you out with that idea to bring it into life? This is the only thing we need for now.
What about the innovation hub?
The innovation, The innovation hub in Nakawa is there, but not every one of us can go there. Yeah, you may find that even the process of getting to the door of that hub is a no-go zone for some of us, for sure. This has been evident to so many other government services. For example, the PDM. Not everyone has got the money. Yeah, not everyone can be. It is managed up by the UPDF. Some of us will even fear them. So. Yeah, so the government should try to polish and find a way of facilitating these particular ideas and projects so that they come to life. When they come to life, they are going to support Ugandans and the Uganda as a country.
All right, your message has gone to the president. The same question, Gideon?
Okay, I think the first thing should be, let's look into how to formalize the informal sector. We can't grow as an economy when we depend on informal sector. Yes. Let's make business registration easy. Let's remove the unnecessary bureaucracies, and let's make it easy for people to register their business, access the necessary finance or financial resources they might need. We appreciate the fact that the PDM is there, the YNP is there, but even getting this money is another hell of a thing. Yes. First of all, they will tell you form a group, and decide to get people like and come together. You have different interests, first of all, and aligning your interests together so that you can access this money is another issue. Why can't they target individual businesses and empower them? Secondly, they are making it hard for people to formalize. But when you want to access this money, they tell you have to present the registration certificates, which is another hindrance. Let's make this thing easy for people to formalize so that they can have the opportunity to access the financial resources that's available there, both in private and maybe public sector, to boost these businesses so that they can propel our economy.
And also, he brings out an important point about funding. He mentions government programs like PDM, Emioka, Onabagagawale, many different government programs. But in a good free market that you think tanks are advocating for, how do you view funding or handouts from government?
Now, handouts from government would be good if the intentions were direct. But some of these programs have hidden.
So do you know about the hidden intentions? Or
the hidden
also
intentions.
don't know?
Yeah, because we have to use our brain and think. We have seen these programs have been rebirthed every after about 5 years. They bring another program. But bringing a new program would not be bad. But can we review what the past program did?
How it performed?
How it performed, which people have benefited from that program. I saw recently, was it in PDM, they brought a minister to give an evidence of how a program worked. But this was a program for poor people in the village, not for the minister. There is a way we understand that the minister is able to do ABCD. So the program come for me who has nothing. But then we come on TV and you bring a minister. We have seen our president, Mr. Museveni, visiting farms of Indian people. Yeah. Yet we would expect him to visit a farm of maybe a farm of my grandfather in the village to show evidence that maybe PDM or Onabagagawale or whatever is making sense out there. Yeah. So you find that most of these programs have come and many of them have gone, but we still have no results for a particular program. And when you check, still we have to submit that many of these have failed because one, the process is not clear. Nobody knows how how you have to start. Nobody. It is always sent by LDCs or ministers or MPs, but common people don't know how to go about what, to get what, and so on. You find that if the government comes out and offers chicken, for example, chicks, they are shared by those local leaders, not individual people within the same community. You find that if they say, okay, we now want a group of 10 maybe youths and we start maybe a metal workshop or so on, they still need a lot of papers. And in front of those 10 youths, there should be either an LDC or maybe a local government official or something So still it doesn't get direct to that particular target person. So for me, I call upon the government to make sure that it follows up with these particular programs, so that the program benefits that real person whom they target to get that particular benefit.
Okay, please telling me we really have limited time. So the remaining 1 minute we have, I would like to give a chance to both of you. If there is one message that you would like to tell, you can look into the camera, you would like to tell to the young person who is watching this show about economic freedom in the country, what would it be? We can start with you, Gideon.
Oh wow.
As we conclude the
A
final
young person
message.
watching this show. I think it is not the right time to say I don't know or I didn't know. We have all it takes. The technology is there for us, and we can learn both from here and across borders. So it is time to get to action. Let's polish those ideas, let's turn them into products, and let's push our products beyond borders and enjoy the fruits of free market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For young people that are watching us today, as I told you, I am Director of Liberty Sparks Uganda. What we do normally outside there is to motivate you to stand up and start something. The first market you have is your neighbor. So use your neighbor as your first market to start earning from those people around you. Be innovative and be smart. The world here today in the 1st century and beyond, we no longer work hard, but we work smart. So be smart and try to find resources and get to know what you don't know, so that you add on what you already know. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
so that was our 3rd episode. I hope you really enjoyed the episode. So don't forget to share this video and subscribe, because it is crystal clear that it is free market that can lift many Ugandans, many Africans out of poverty, with one of the project which is moving on, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Search out on Google, search out on the internet, find more about it and how you as a young person you can benefit from the free market in Africa. Greetings to our Director of Photography, Steve, over there. Thank you for the work you're doing, and please, let's meet in the next episode. I remain George Justice Kanyihamba, your host. Remember, in the next video, it's going to be thought-provoking and educative. See you soon.